There seems to be a little cat playing in his paper over here. What are you doing, buddy? You making some crunchies? The camera trellis is currently down off of the table and is kind of shielding the paper area, which is a bit more contained than it usually is. And they're a little confused. Hello there, and welcome back to The Closet Historian and back to my sewing parlor, where today I'm going to be working on my sewing parlor. And the last time we were in here doing a little bit of DIY, sprucing things up a little bit, I was working on the window treatments in here, the pelmets, lambrequins, whatever you want to call these things. Anyhow, they've been covered in plastic because while I had painted the floor in this room, have clearly painted the walls, I had another surface that I needed to apply my decorative flourishes to, and that would be the ceiling, much to the destruction and disappointment of my spinal column, but we'll get to that later. And seeing as, of course, applying my decorative schemes to the ceiling in here took me several days longer than I had originally planned, I had better go ahead and get started. That's right, the camera trellis is off the table and the painting stuff is out because I'm going to go ahead and attempt to paint the ceiling in this room, which, as you can see, it is already arsenic from Farrow and Ball. Well, it's Benjamin Moore paint color matched to the color arsenic by Farrow and Ball. Sorry. And I'm going to go ahead and try and make this ceiling look like this design that I sketched up in Photoshop quickly just to get an idea of what a sort of forest clearing ceiling might look like. I had originally thought to do a more sort of nighttime kind of almost, or like just as sun had fully set, sort of gradient in here with a golden trellis. And as much as I would love that, I don't think my neck and my shoulders would survive me trying to actually accurately geometrically trellis this ceiling. If I could paint paper and then hang it up, even then maybe. But I think instead we're gonna go for a slightly more organic design. And I have begun to cut some stencils for the border decoration of this. As you can see, there is already, I don't remember how many inches, but like a 6 or 7 inch border of the Klein blue, as it were, on the ceiling in here. And then I'm going to have a small gap of the arsenic with a gold border on top of it, and then a larger strip of the, I believe the paint color is called guacamole, which is the darker green background, olive green from in here. And then I'm going to mix this green color and arsenic together and use that to gradiate the clearing in my forest here. Really the forest is over there in the salon foray, but you get the idea. Which, because I have the entirely blue ceiling in here, to do a gradation of like the center being blue again in the other room did seem a little bit too repetitive anyhow, so I'm going to keep the room in here more of the arsenic and olive, which is what's on the walls in here, and keep the blue ceiling limited to this room. This will be nighttime. In the sewing parlor, perhaps it will be dusk. But this is what this looks like beforehand. Let's see what I can do with all the paint that I already own, the last remaining tiny bits of stenciling material, and a couple of days' time. Okay, so I've started to draw in the new border. So there will be a gap left of the arsenic, and then this is going to be a border done in guacamole. I'm probably gonna go ahead and paint that in first, at least even in this corner, get an idea of how that's going to look, and if I want that to be any thicker. This is what I'm guessing will work and what I will like, so we'll see. All right, yesterday I managed to get 2 coats of the guacamole up in a second stripe all the way around the ceiling. Wow, this is flat paint. Interesting. Yeah, that's flat. So it's just quite shiny for flat paint, but I guess the bright studio lights are also very, very bright. Anyhow, you can see I did not tape anything. I just did this freehand. So there are a couple of little wibblies, which is how this was painted as well, because you can see some wibblies on there. But overall, I think it's fine, and there's a lot more nonsense to go, so no one will ever notice that in the end. If it really starts to bother me, I can always touch that up with more arsenic, which is what this color is here. So I need to kind of outline where, like how much sky or like clear area there will be in the middle of the room. As you can see, I have a lovely light fixture to work around with a nice ceiling medallion. Oh wait, I don't, because this entire ceiling is just a blank space, baby. There's nothing going on in here. There are barely any outlets in this room, let alone any lighting, which is why studio lights, I wish they made nice Victorian steampunk studio lights, because I have to have a bunch of them. Here's a ring light as well. Obviously it took quite a lot of the arsenic paint to do the ceiling, but it was a while ago and I don't remember how much exactly. So to do like paint half the ceiling again, it will need quite a bit of paint. So I'm gonna scavenge and see what I can come up with. Look, I found more arsenic paint. I'm sure this 2 tablespoons will make all the difference. I'm not gonna lie, mixing these paints took, several hours longer than I wanted it to, and involved a lot of waiting for paint to dry. Here's where I started. So this was arsenic, and this was the first mix, the second color, third color, fourth color. And like, it's fine, but it's not fantastic. So I kept adding more like darkness into these things. So I went ahead and adjusted, and it's this side here is where I got to next. And these 2 colors were too close, and then the jump here was too strong. So I added some more arsenic back into this to bring it back a little closer here, and differentiate it from here a little bit more. And the same here, these 2 were quite close, and then the jump to the last, to the avocado was quite strong. So again, I mixed some more dark into here to again, both differentiate it from the last and get it closer to the next color. So this is my final mix and selection. As you can see, this is still a pretty big jump. It looks less severe off camera. So whatever the iPhone is doing is adding to the situation. It's so funny how dark this can look here on a, like next to white, because the ceiling here looks so bright to me. Like that's the same color. So this looks so light, and yet this is the same color, and there's Oliver fur on here. No surprise there. So I think I'm happy with this gradation. Obviously this is just, but it looks pretty good on camera, and definitely better than my first shot in reality. All I did really was mix some of the guacamole shade, which is the next shade darker from this. This is avocado. Weirdly enough, the shade darker than that from Benjamin Moore is guacamole, which I don't know if you've ever had guacamole and avocados. The outside of an avocado, definitely different color than the inside, but whatever. But I did end up mixing a dark green to use to tint my initial mixes darker, and to do that I mixed the guacamole shade with the dark royal blue that I used for the blue on the trim in here. So the color I used to darken these up further was a mix of these 2 colors, so it's all still in the family. And of course I didn't want to have to buy any paint for this project, so there's also that. And now finally I get to stand on top of the cut table, ruin my neck a little bit more, and try and put up the forest clearing. see I just did a little bit of touching up because I brought this in a tiny bit more. I'm gonna bring the entire other, like, I guess second color, third color as you see it, second color as the paint is mixed new. I'm gonna bring that further out, or have less of a band of the first color, just because I want more darker around the edges. This is the next color, which is gonna have more like kind of leaf outline around the edge, which does not want to focus at all. There we go. But I want that to come out further, so I'm gonna bring this one out further. But this is the kind of only corner I tested of that last night. You can see it's still pretty sheer. A lot of that's gonna get covered by future stuff though, so I'm not super worried about it. So some tweaking to do, but this is how far I got yesterday. And today I would like to finish all of the forced, like the middle section of this, and then start on the stenciling that goes around the border of the room. So we shall see how that goes. I'm being yelled at by an orange cat in the background here. Not sure what that's about. But even though a couple of these bits are still wet up here from where I was touching this up, I am going to get back to carving this edge and bringing it out further. Hi. I had to take a whole day off because after doing the next two layers, and actually I did bring both the first layer and the second layer in about 3 or 4 inches. Well, maybe 2 inches for this, 3 inches for this. My neck and my shoulder and my arm were killing me. So I had to take a whole day off at the recommendation of my mom, and also at the assistance of my muscles, or lack thereof. So I took a day off, unfortunately, which means I'm, a day and a half behind on this. But here is what things are looking like. I would like to add sort of, this is kind of like vaguely leaves in the distance, just curved shapes, but I would like to add actual leaf pointy bits coming out of this layer and this layer. So I have to work on that today. I've got some cheap paintbrushes, like just crafty paintbrushes from Michael's, to go ahead and do that. I kind of need to wash them though, because they come with so much sizing in them that they're kind of a pain. So I need to wash these and then use them. Wash, dry, and then use. And the gold paint is out, and the stencil material as well, because I'm starting to work on the stenciled portion of this. So I have this little border that I'm adding into the arsenic stripe. You can see what this looks like with just the gold color of paint, and then with the metallic gold paint on top of that. This is a 2-layer process, and I'm hopefully taking that all the way around the room. I do have a couple of touch-ups to do on this blue from working on the border actually ages ago. And then I have this sort of design that's going around the entire dark green border of the room here. But I'm trying to put this around the edge here, and I do have little registration marks that I need to help keep the stencil together. But I'm actually I've cut today a new stencil where the registration marks are in different spots. So instead of maybe having to touch everything up, I'm just gonna have the registration spots alternating, and I'll see how that looks. I would really prefer not to have to touch up all these little bits all the way around the room, because that takes an extremely long time and contributes to my physical pain, sadly enough, which is what I learned doing this room, where I had a lot of touching up to do like that. And this little flower design is the same as the design I'm popping in there. So keeping some consistency, or keeping some elements from this room and using them in this room in a whole new way, as it were. I also grabbed some silver craft acrylic here. Not sure which one of these is going to be shinier, but we will find out, because I think I'm going to do a crescent moon in our little forest clearing above me, and I'll do the moon in silver and then I'll do all the other accents in the metallic gold. So I didn't need a ton of metallic silver, but maybe a little. But I think putting up the moon and some stars, some sort of distant stars, as opposed to the next room where there's quite the star field going on, and then maybe some bats as well. Here in the clearing might be a nice, easy start to working in here today. I do have quite a lot to get done, and we'll see how it goes. Yikes. Turned the lights on yet, although of course the air conditioner is running. Last night I did all of the leaves, or like yesterday I did most of the leaves. Hey, focus. There we go. So I still have lots of stenciling to do today. I'm not positive this is the final arrangement of the stenciling. It's going to be what I'm doing this round, but this is so detailed, and like this Greek key is so intricate that I might need to do a little bit more up here. But I'm going to wait and see after I take this all the way around the room what I think. A lot of this has like a black outline in it, and there's a couple of black stripes, which helps really make this pop, and that might be what I need up here, is a little bit of black. There are a few little distant stars up here. I need to go ahead and put the gold metallic on those because they're just the ochre colored paint right now. But I put all the leaves up yesterday, and the idea here is that I take each consecutive like darkest color. So this dark color is the dark leaf color here. This is the light leaf color here. This color is the dark leaf up here. And I'm just kind of going densest leaves to farther away because the whole idea is that this is in the distance and this is like a forest clearing, sort of is the idea here. So I need to do, you can see how I have this color as the lighter colored leaf here. This part is done, but you can see all the way around the room, I do not have that light colored leaf yet. So today I'm going to focus on putting the light color leaf up, putting the gold up on these stars, which will take no time at all. You can see that this moon is silver, although often it just looks pink or purple because of the illusion of being surrounded by so much seafoam, makes the gray look pink because of color theory, which is a little bit annoying, I'll be honest. But I also need to take all of my stenciling around the room, so we'll see how far I get with that today. This is kind of my last day for this project. We'll see how it goes. what began in this corner, where you can see the difference again between the yellow paint and the metallic gold that goes over it, has now been continued all the way around the room. I'm going to try and go slow here. So we have the stenciling all the way around, including around this curved area, where once again you can see I have started to put the metallic gold on over the yellow base layer. So I have like a gold colored paint, like an ochre colored paint that I use as the base layer, and then the metallic gold goes over that because the metallic gold paint from PPG is quite sheer, but it's pretty metallic after only one layer, and certainly very metallic after a couple. So currently I have one layer of the metallic on this entire wall. Focus. And I will need to do that everywhere else. You can see again where it shifts boop, back over to the matte, like flat colored paint. And you can see how shiny the gold is on the wall, same paint. So I need to take the metallic around the rest. I'm going to try and get this wall done. But as I'm speaking to you right now, it is the Wednesday before I hope this video will be up for you. So I've already started working on the video, and I'm not yet done with the ceiling. I'm almost done, but I'm not yet done. And I do have one sort of registration mistake I need to fix over here, which is that I did not measure this buddy. Like, none of this was done with math. I just created a stencil in a size I thought would work. And as you can see, there's not enough space for one more motif right here. So I think what I need to do is paint over these two and then space them out just a little bit more. So there's just a little bit extra space between the motifs, but again, you have to be looking extremely close to realize that. So maybe I might paint over the last three here and touch up that with the green paint, and then redo those with a little bit more space so that I can fill in this gap just by spacing these out a little bit, because one more will not fit there. This is the yellow paint version that I've been using. I moved where the registration marks were and alternated them for the gold layer that goes on top so that you kind of can't see them, but honestly, you kind of still can. I would love to touch up the whole thing and go over these marks on everything. I would have to do that by hand, and it does take quite a long time. That's what I did for the foyer. So I know from experience that it's a lot of work for something that probably only I notice. So it's something that I probably will save for a rainy day, I'll be honest, especially because I'm not going to get it done tonight. So it's going to be some time in the future. Oh, someone's joining us. You can do it. There you go. We have Oliver. Hello, buddy. Hello. Yes, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Oh, and the other air conditioner has just popped on behind me, but it is, of course, essential. Funny thing is, so the light here that I just turned on is hitting the gold metallic motif up here. And so it's shining, and it's shining enough that it's reflecting off the gold on the ceiling now, which is kind of funny. But at least the moon looks silver from this angle as well. And there are a couple of stars. I have not added any like moths or butterflies up here yet. I eventually would like to do that too. Not today, pals, not today. This is what a week worth of work gets you. Thousands of leaves, and the ceiling is about 80% done. And that's gonna have to be good enough for today, sadly enough. Wouldn't you say, Ollies? Yes. You've been very helpful, and by that, I mean you've mostly just complained. But then again, when I'm doing a project like this that hurts, mostly I just complain as well. All right, pals, I'll be honest with you. I'm gonna wanna do the touch-ups. No one is surprised, so here we are. Let's see, let me find one. This one, you can kind of see the dark registration marks. That's from the initial layer stenciling. And then the lighter color of registration mark is from layering a slightly different stencil on top where the marks are in a different spot, hoping that the gold paint would like cover the initial registration mark at all. But as you can see, it does not. You can see right through it. It's super transparent. I was hoping that I would be happy enough with this to have the registration marks staggered, but I'm not. So last night I started filling in the registration marks from the stencil, and I have to do with, again, the two layers. So I have to fill it in with the yellow paint and then with the metallic over it. So that is going to be a two-step process. You can see these motifs I did this little row right here where I filled in the empty little bits from the stencil. I filled those in with the yellow paint. I will need to go over that with the gold, and then it will look nice and uniform, a little bit more like this, although this one still needs its gold metallic layer as well. But unfortunately, I am out of time. I could keep going, honestly, except this morning I finally woke up, and I'm talking to you on Thursday, the day I hoped to have this video up, of course. I woke up this morning, and after all this work, where I'm on the ladder and, you know, doing nonsense things at the top of a ladder, with my neck craned to do all the leaves, my back was like, you know, not friendly, but it was fine. This morning I was checking my email in bed and I cricked my neck a little bit, and now it is very stiff and I cannot turn it from side to side. So I think even if I were to delay finishing this video so that I could have this all actually completely complete, 100% complete, I cannot at this point, I don't think, work on the ceiling for at least a week. I need to give myself a good long break because my neck is letting me know that, because I can no longer so much as check my email on my phone at an improper angle without a day of stiffness. So I've really messed up, but there's really no surprise there, is there? I do think that this might be a bit of an impediment to getting any sewing done as well, because I need to put everything back together. Luckily, because all I have left to do on this friendly ceiling, which, wow, the light is really, that's a very powerful light. I think my camera lens is just dirty. Hold on. Ah, see, that's better. That's how dirty the iPhone camera lens was. Apologies. But because the center of the ceiling is finished, all I have left to do is the touch-ups of the yellow and the metallic. The yellow, as you can see, and the metallic. The metallic disappears so much more into the design, and the yellow really stands out, which I like both, but I do prefer the metallic. So I still have to go over all of the registration marks on the two walls, like this wall here, and then the wall above me. Those are just the yellow paint, except for this corner. So I will go ahead and touch up with the yellow paint first, and then do the metallic over everything. And then on this wall, I did manage to get the metallic across this wall, but it's gonna need those registration touch-ups. So I'll get to that some other time, and then I'll show you the real results one day when I finally do a grand reveal room tour, even though you've seen all of the parts coming together for this room as we go along. I will note that I did paint over this spot and space these buddies out. Again, when we're looking at it like this, we can tell that the motif is supposed to be closer together. And over here, I've spaced it out. Honestly, you know, like if you were doing the math properly beforehand, you would add a tiny bit more space between like the last 10 of these, so that way you really couldn't tell. But this, you're only gonna be able to tell if you're standing right here and looking up. So don't do that, you know? We're all just gonna pretend that it's perfect. Meanwhile, I need to put this room back together, take this plastic off the windows. I wasn't gonna get any paint on those nice new pelmets slash lambrequins or whatever I made earlier in the year. Listen, those are time consuming to make. I'm not getting any paint on those. So I'm gonna pull that off, put the camera trellis back up, get this all ready to use as my sewing parlor again, so that I can get back to work, of course. Sadly, the sun refused to come out for these kind of final photographs for you today, although I guess I do still have to finish up the metallic detailing around the edge of the room, so it's not really finished anyhow, is it? Perhaps the sun will come out when I'm actually done. The final shots will have to wait for when my spine starts functioning again, because right now I'm a little too stiff to like turn my head much, so it's gonna have to wait a couple of weeks, I think, unfortunately. In any case, thank you as always for watching today and for your patience with me in general as I take on way more than I should, as always. And a huge additional thank you to my patrons who make my work and these videos possible. And as always, I'll be back with more sewing, vintage fashion, costuming, crafting, and decorating real soon. So I'll see you then. Bye.